crazy it gets here. We are qualifying already out and underway. Currently, Thomas George is topping the charts here, and again, like I said, we had 50 guys enter this race, and 50 guys are going to try to qualify. Unfortunately, 9 of those guys are going to, or 10 of those guys are going to be sent home and not going to be able to race. So we'll see. We'll find out here who those guys are. There is a last chance qualifier race, a slightly different format than what we had last week. Obviously, last week we ran the Daytona duels and determined the field that way. But here we're going to have a last chance qualifier race, a short race, about 11 laps to determine the final 5 starting places. And Thomas George, there you see him on pit road. He's already done. He's currently sitting on provisional pole. Timothy Johnson is going to set a time in second place. And Anthony DeBarro is going to come across the line in third at the moment. Oh, and you can see, looking over at Brian Bliss, he just comes flying out of the corner on turn 4. He's going to hit the wall. Not sure if that counted his lap or not. Those can really catch you off guard and discount your lap. But currently he's sitting, doing a solid job sitting in 10th. So he shouldn't have too much to worry about. And Jarrett, so what we've seen Kansas racing quite a few times, both in Sim and in the Cup Series. How do you think this race is going to play out? Jared, are you there?
Yeah, so Kansas racing goes one of two ways. You know, usually they're clean, single file. Other side of that coin, though, they can be really aggressive and really dirty, tons of wrecks. So hopefully we see a kind of mixture of both tonight. I'd love to see some close, clean racing, and according to what we saw in practice, that's a very high possibility here tonight.
Indeed, well, we're going to see a lot of these guys. Ooh, that's a fantastic paint scheme by Brian Yazik in the 55, and a throwback to the old, or actually it looks like a throwback to the old DLP car. I thought it was that for a second, but that car looks beautiful nonetheless. He's currently sitting in 7th, so he's a happy camper. Looking further on back through the field, the first few guys to be close to the cutoff. Currently David Leclerc, you're currently not on track. Currently David Leclerc, Josh Gillett, and AJ Henderson are listed as being on the outside looking in. And as qualifying is going to wrap up here, that's the wrong button. Nope, there we go. And as qualifying wraps up here, it looks like most of the drivers have put a time down. Actually, still waiting on Nick Cohan and Tim Silman. They're currently out on the track making way.
Currently, last week's winner, Scott Eckridge, sits on provisional pole with a 29-126.
Yeah, solid job by him, and had a fantastic week last week at Daytona, being able to win, and he had a pretty easy job of it on the last lap. Didn't have too much of a threat, but really here, you know, we always look at Daytona as being the big race for any season, any series, really, because that's equivalent to the Daytona 500. But here now we're going to see, this is going to be interesting because we're going to see how these guys perform in an oval, which is most, and on a speedway, like most of the tracks we're going to visit this season. So I think really here we're going to see the true test of skill from a lot of these drivers. And as qualifying wraps up here, we're going to set the grid now for the heat.
Yeah, it looks like we'll have 16 cars in this last chance qualify, with 5 of them heading on to the feature, the big race tonight. Tyler Duggar will start. Dulger, rather, so I will start on pole for this heat race.
Indeed he will. And actually, I'm going to cut to commercial real... Oh. I just realized my mic was muted the entire time. I apologize for that at home. Small oversight there. But yeah, we are here at Kansas, as I was saying earlier, and we just wrapped up qualifying. We're currently going over to the heat races, and... Alright, there we go. ATVO is finally up to date. However, I am going to restart the program because it looks like it's being a little bit laggy. So don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. All right, and we're back here at Kansas, and sorry for that. ATVO, the scoring was being a little laggy on my end of things, so everything should be fine and dandy right now. And you can see drivers finally gridding up for the heat race, getting ready to go. It's only going to be a 6-lap race, and only a few drivers are allowed to start. I believe only five drivers are allowed to start, and this is due to the drivers being knocked out last week, especially major names like Gabriel Perry being knocked out last week. So system is put in place to get drivers who competed last season a chance to make the show. So we got Travis McQuistion from the looks of it. Actually, won't put up the starting grid because that'll be inaccurate. But here we have Travis McQuistion. He's going to be starting in first. John Wilco, as well as Fred Thompson, David Leclerc, and Joshua Gillett. Those guys are going to seem to be making start. Also, Brett McBride will be joining them as well. I believe so. Slight weird format. Some drivers are rolling off, some drivers aren't, but everyone's getting ready to get behind the pace car and get this 6-lap shootout underway.
Yeah, no matter who's in this race, it's going to be really exciting. You know, these guys want to be in the race, they want to get the points, and they want to get up there and compete for the win later tonight. So, really exciting race in store here tonight.
Yeah, indeed. Looking forward to it. And as I said earlier, when people didn't hear me, this is going to be a heat race qualifying for the main event, 6-lap shootout, and we're going to have, it looks like McQuistion and Wilco are going to take the green flag here.
I don't think it's just us who are confused. It looks like there were some cars catching them now, but Travis McQuistion will cross the line first and head down into turn number 1.
Indeed, he'll head off. John Wilco will follow him, as well as Rhett McBride, who is a major name. Looks like he's going to be getting himself in there, and Joshua Gillett are going to be the 4 drivers currently making the start.
Rhett McBride has some trouble in turn 1, taps the wall and gets a little bit loose, but is able to save it before heading onto the backstretch. There seems to be a car stopped on the infield.
Yeah, that's Joshua Gillett in the 75. He's going to pull off the track. Wilco and McQuistion, meanwhile, are still racing it up towards the front.
Yeah, to say racing is a little bit generous rather. So Travis McQuistion has built a second lead over John Wilco as he rides away from him a little bit, but 5 people will transfer into the feature, we think, right? So
yes,
John Wilco is more than happy to sit in second right now, I bet.
Yeah, indeed. So we still got those 4 drivers out actually Tyler Duggar now is out on the track making laps. I do apologize if it sounds like we're a little confused here because several drivers are starting and parking. So this is a little bit confusing, and this is due to, again, this system is put in place to allow drivers who didn't make the qualifying, who are basically, this is going off of owners points from last season. So that's why we're seeing guys like McQuistion, McBride, Wilco, Runkle now out on track, and Duggar there putting laps in to make sure they qualify into the show.
John Wilco is now in his pit box, so he will probably surrender second place to Don Wilco Jr., who's just entered turn 3.
Yeah, Don Runkle in that Viagra car. Beautiful paint scheme on his machine. McQuistion still leading everyone else. Rhett McBride's currently taking over second place. They're separated by about 7.7 seconds. I don't think we're going to have much of a race on our hands here. Again, these are just more for these guys to put in the laps to make sure that they make the top 5, which qualify into the show.
It's big here that Travis McQuistion's able to qualify into this race. Had a pretty good race at Daytona. Was able to finish 8th place and finish on the lead lap. So that was a good showing for him points-wise. So he's happy to be out there and make his way into the feature tonight.
Indeed, and once these guys finish out with, they got 2 more laps to go. McQuistion now in 3 and 4, so he's going to come across the line. He's going to take the white flag in the air. Pretty much has no competition. And again, he's going to be qualifying, should be qualifying into 36th place, but here he comes, white flag in the air for McQuistion. 1 lap to go in this heat race.
Rhett McBride finds himself currently in 2nd place. He just got the white flag. Looks like he will find his way in as well.
Tyler Duggar in 3rd, sliding off of turn 4. He's going to be fighting in. I think really, I just got to mention, from looking at these guys go around the track, I think we're going to see these guys fighting loose conditions as the night goes on, as the track is bathed in daylight. But meanwhile, Travis McQuistion is going to come across the line. He's going to win the heat race. He's going to finish first. Rhett McBride, he's coming out of turn 4 right now. He's going to come home second. Tyler Delger is going to come home third. John Wilco is going to finish fourth, and Runkle will be the last qualifier. He's going to round out the field when everyone grids in 40th.
40 cars at Kansas Motor Speedway. We're in for a show tonight, that's for sure. Going to be very exciting, going to be very close racing, and hopefully the drivers will be able to keep it clean here tonight.
Indeed, and all right, and as the last few drivers get off the field and the track switches tonight, we're gonna have ourselves the real race here, and Scott Eckrich is gonna be leading these guys down to green. Last week's Daytona winner. Actually, we're gonna have a small 2-minute warm up. I forgot about that, and then we'll take the green flag for this event. Sorry again, still getting used to the format used for this season. First time they're using this particular format. They had something similar used last season because they had so many guys to show up, and they're still currently having that problem. But I gotta say, you know, Jarrett, what a good problem to have, having too many people show up to a race.
Yeah, it's a good sign that the community's still going strong, and it's awesome to see. 40 guys who come up can be competitive, and even a few cars going home. You hate to see it if you're those guys, but if you're a fan of this league, you're a fan of competitive racing, you love to see it.
Yeah, indeed, you love to see it. Looking on board with Scott Eckrich again, the pole sitter here tonight, last week's winner as well. So he's got a lot of momentum carrying into this race. And I gotta say, I'm really interested in seeing how the 70 Scott Eckrich can handle himself. He made a few starts last season in the FUEL Cup Series and did fantastic in those starts. And I'm really curious in seeing how he's going to compare to Greg Evans, if I can currently find him, if he's on the track, who was last year's champion. And I was looking at the practice times before it ticked over to qualifying, and Scott Eckrich was just ahead of the 46, I believe, Greg Evans' number is this season. Yeah, there he is. And now he disappeared again for me.
Yeah, you mentioned Scott Eckrich last year was able to really be impressive in the few starts he had. In only 5 starts, he was able to manage 2 wins and 4 top 5s. So if he can put a whole season together, he'll be up there in that championship conversation for sure.
Yeah, indeed. And I think it's going to be this. I think, honestly, from the looks of it, it might be the story of these 2 drivers throughout the season. But we still got some fantastic drivers coming into this season, rookies, if you will. Although I will say that they're the way these guys drive, they're not considered rookies. Especially, you see the 24 of Thomas Bresci getting into his teammate, the 44 Tyler Hensley. And warm up is now finished for these guys, and we're gonna tick over to the main event. 117 laps here at Kansas Speedway. Again, as I said in my intro that no one heard because I'm an idiot and I forgot to unmute myself, is we had 50 drivers show up here tonight. Again, another record-breaking field, although Daytona had 62 entries, so a little bit down from that. But again, I don't think anyone here is going to be complaining, and should be looking forward to a fantastic race here as these drivers are getting gridded.
Yeah, super excited for this one. 117 laps under the lights. The track's going to be cold, it's going to be slick, and it's going to be incredible to watch here tonight.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried. I wasn't entirely sure. I thought I assumed that we were going to run this race in night, but I was concerned when we saw it in day earlier because this track can get very slick and slippery in the daylight conditions, but at night it's nice and grippy, and we're going to see guys duke it out. We've seen some fantastic racing here on SimTV with the Truck Series in particular here at Kansas, so interested in seeing what kind of show the Cup car is put on here tonight. And there you see the 2 drivers I was talking about at the start of the show, Scott Eckrich and Greg Evans on the front row.
Yeah, Greg Evans looking to repeat the incredible year he had last year. Obviously, he was able to win the championship. 9 wins, 13 top 5s, and 16 starts. He won the championship by 1 point last season. So, not a lot of breathing room there, but he hopes to duplicate the season he had last year.
And there you see Thomas Bresci and Thomas George going to be starting 3rd and 4th, respectively. Timothy Johnson and Anthony DeBar are going to be starting 5th and 6th in row number 3. Back to row number 4, we're going to have Brian Yazik in the 55. Drew Carroll in the 87s. He's going to be starting in 8th, and we'll try to get through the first 5 rows here. And as it ticks over, Christopher Matthews is going to be starting in the 92. He's going to be starting in 9th. Jeff Ward in the 89. He's going to be starting over in 10th. So we'll take that off the grid, off the screen here. 40 drivers here coming to take the green, just as it was last week at Daytona. A huge field of cars getting ready to start probably one of the true tests here. The first speedway of the season. Pace car is going to be in. And as they roll slowly towards the start-finish line, there you see Scott Eckridge. He's going to jump. Green flag is in the air here at Kansas.
Yeah, they were itching to go, and Scott Eckridge was able to get out to an incredible start as Greg Evans and Thomas Bressi race him down into turn number 1.
Yeah, here comes Bressi now up the inside of Greg Evans, and behind them, 3 wide for position. Timothy Johnson looking to the inside of the 27 to Anthony DeBarro. He's not going to get that position done. Thomas George looks like he's got to run on Thomas Bressi. He's going to look on the outside, but can't get it done. DeBarro now making a dive to the inside. All these guys forming a pack very early on.
Yeah, the race for second right now is heating up. Looks to be 4 cars in contention for it here, as Greg Evans will have it as they cross the stripe this time.
Yeah, Greg Evans is going to get ahead. He's going to try to get in line and going through as these top guys are sorted out. Looking through the field for some other battles, but looks like everyone's mostly sorted out. And here, as I say that, here comes the 87 of Drew Carroll to the inside of Timothy Johnson.
Yeah, Timothy Johnson holding that high side. He will come down and try to kind of arc the front straightaway as he's right in Thomas George's slipstream right there.
Yeah, and everyone already, you can see Mike running up to the top line is the fastest way around, and there's Brian Yazik now looking to the inside of Timothy Johnson, and he's going to get ahead of him for position.
Scott Eckridge has built up quite a lead. He's got half a second on second place. He sits Greg Evans, and then Greg Evans actually is under some heat right now from Thomas Bressi as he tries to take second place away as they cross the line.
Yeah, Bressi now on the charge. I was not concerned, but curious of how this 24 car would perform here with this new group of guys, and it looks like he's doing fantastic here. He's going to look to the inside, trying to look to the inside at Greg Evans, but can't get the move done. Behind them, though, I see some fighting for position. And I can't tell who that is. I believe it's Josh Gallagher in the... No, it's a 21. Oh, that's Nick Cohen. And I'm not sure where he's listed. I do apologize. Again, the ticker is... the timing of scoring is laggy for me at the moment. Still not sure why. And Nick Cohen, he's going to be fighting. He's trying to fight for 13th. Has to move up quite a few spots, but up ahead, Tyler Hensley in the 44. He's side-by-side for position.
Yeah, going to the turn 1 there, Tyler Hensley seemed to be the only car on the inside, and the high side looked to check up a little bit, and he almost took a huge advantage of that and almost gained 3 or 4 spots, but was unable to pull it through.
Yeah, Mitchell Welker there you see currently in the 7 car, currently in 11th, trying to make up some ground here, but I think passing going to be a little bit difficult tonight in this early part of the run. We're already seeing these guys forming a train pretty much of sorts on the outside line. You can see, too, the gap to the leader there. You see Scott Eckridge ahead of Greg Evans, already forming a solid second lead over the rest of the field, and everyone else is in a train behind them.
Yeah, given Greg Evans' record last season, that's a very impressive lead that Scott Eckridge has been able to build up so far. Greg Evans, though, has not been too comfortable there in second place. Thomas Bressi's been there every single lap, every single corner on his bumper.
Indeed he is, and it's how much do you think that Thomas Bressi is going to weigh? Do you think he's going to be trying to make the move early on, or do you think he's going to ride him behind?
Well, Thomas Bressi, you know, he's technically a rookie in this series, so it's hard to say, you know, we don't really have a catalog as to, you know, how patient he is or how seasoned he is around these places, but, you know, all these drivers know it's a long race, so I imagine he won't push the issue too hard here early on.
Yeah, I'm looking at a battle here for position. It's the 6 of Tim Silman. He's fighting for position with the 96 of Josh Gallagher, and in behind him, Norman Pelletier in 20th. Looking through the rest of the field, just trying to see what's going on. Rich Jett, it looks like he's going to be fighting side by side with the 0-1 of Justin Rod, and they're having a fight for position, and that's going to be for 27th place. So a lot of battles going on in this huge field of cars, and from the looks of it, everyone is still running except for Cody Tabor in the 15. Looks like he's down on pit road. Not entirely sure what's wrong with his car. He's currently listed as 5 laps down, so hopefully he can get back into the fight here. But back up to the front of the field, you can still see these guys, massive train of cars, and it actually looks like Greg Evans is starting to break away from Thomas Bressi.
Yeah, Greg Evans is able to kind of pull away from him, but he's still almost a second behind Scott Eckridge, and he's happy to see his lead building and maintaining there. Really clean race so far.
Yeah, indeed. And actually, I just saw Thomas Bressi. He almost got very close to the wall. And I gotta ask, Jarrett, as a driver, how do you dare try to run up there, up towards the wall as close as you can early on in the run, or are you gonna try to be a little bit more conservative to save your car for the end?
Well, I'm nowhere near as fast as these guys, so I can't comment on that per se. But you know, being up close to the wall, these drivers know the challenge, especially on a slick racetrack like this. So they're aware of the risk. But as more guys run up there and they run more laps up there, there'll be more grip up there, and we'll see what happens.
Looks like just saw a pass Woody Mahan getting ahead of Corey Boudinot. That's a fight for 14th place, and behind them, Gabriel Perry, who didn't make the start at Daytona, was taken out in the heats. He was not able to qualify for the main event, so tough break for him in that third team, but nice to see him back on the track. And he's a pretty quick driver last season, fell off towards the end, but had a really good start to it initially. So he's currently in 6th place, has a little bit of work to do to try to get up to the field, but up ahead I see a fight for position. That's Tyler Hensley looking to the inside of Nick Cohen, trying to make a pass for 11th place.
Yeah, you mentioned
oh, and sorry actually to cut you off. Thomas George got a big piece of the wall. And we were just talking about guys getting close to the wall. He got a big chunk of it. Now here comes to the inside Anthony DeBarro in the 27 making a pass. Bresci got caught up behind, and he's going to lose a spot.
Yeah, that's a tough break, you know, to run into the wall like that. But it's a long race, only lap 12 of 117, so he will have a lot of time to fix that car. There's actually someone in the grass in the tri-oval. That looks to be the 44 of Tyler Hensley.
Oh yeah, and he's got big damage to his right front. We're gonna try to take a look at what happened. And there you see, he just touches the wall and had a little bit of a glide through the grass. And while his car is in a relatively fine shape, he's gonna lose a lot of positions and is currently mired back in 17th. So he's gonna have a lot of ground to make up in that 44 car. Actually, you know, he's currently that just caught up with me now. He's currently listed in 33rd, so he's gonna have to make up a lot more ground than I thought.
Yeah, he did a really good job though of minimizing damage there. You know, when you go off in the grass, it'd be easy to come back up and really destroy your car. But he did a good job with damage control there.
He did. Still seeing these guys running around single file for the most part. Although Drew Carroll had a bit of a scary moment. With Timothy Johnson and Brian Yazik, they're all fighting for position. Actually, here they come fighting for position again. Bresci looks like he's going up high. Here comes Carroll now to the inside, making a pass.
Yeah, that inside line, the drivers, they try to throw it down in there and do a slide job up, and you know, it kills the momentum off the corner. But that run they get in is incredible, and it worked in that case.
Indeed it did. Bresci's still trying to fight for position on the inside line, but I think he's going to be at a disadvantage here, and he's going to have to try to get up in line as soon as possible, because I can bet you that 28, he's going to not let him in, and there you see the run Timothy Johnson has, and Bresci's going to drop down the order here, and I think might be a little bit of damage or something affecting that 24 car, but he's falling off the pace of it.
Yeah, Timothy Johnson did a good job there, taking advantage of them battling side by side, and was able to get around the 24 car of Thomas Bresci for the position.
Riding on board with Jeff Ward in the 89 car, is currently running in 9th, started in 10th, and they see Bresci still trying to get a run, and you see actually visually there, see right front damage to that 24 car, and I think that's hurting him a bit on his speed, and these cars pretty air sensitive here, as you see Bresci still trying to hold off on the inside line, can't get it to work, and they see Nick Cohen in the 21. Unfortunately, I'm not sure why his paint scheme is not showing up, but that 21 still trying to move through the field. And wow! Big crossover move from the 89. He's going to almost tap the 24 Bresci. He's going to get around with an over-under, and we'll take that position. Nick Cohen now looking for a position, as well as Mitchell Welker. How about a big move from him trying to cut off the 21? He's going to hold on to that spot.
I believe they made contact just slightly off of turn number 4 there, and you know, even if Thomas Bresci does have damage, he wasn't being helped by the fact that everyone was on the outside and he was just stuck there on the bottom. So interesting to see how much that damage affects him later on in the race.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll keep an eye on him as his run goes on. We've had a pretty solid green flag run here. 18 laps of green flag racing, and still, from the looks of it, no retirements. Yep, everyone is still out there making laps in. We'll try to go through the rest of the field here, just kind of explore as these guys have kind of sorted themselves out. Calvin Filarski in the 39, he's all the way back in 31st. He's a big regular. You see him making a pass now to the inside of the 35 of Dylan Lee, and you can see him almost getting in contact there. Gale Brooks, another driver we haven't talked about a lot, in the 71. He's currently riding back in 33rd, fighting for a position, and I'm actually kind of curious where's Travis McQuistion. He's currently in 25th, and you remember McQuistion almost didn't make the show. Had to be in that heat race in that last chance qualifier to get himself based on owner's points from last season, and has currently moved himself quite a bit up to 26th and still moving forward.
Yeah, Travis McQuiston, you know, good job getting into the race, and you see him on the inside there of the 96 car of Josh Gallagher for position, moving himself up into 25th place here on lap 20.
Indeed, in a fight up just ahead with them, and actually involves the 5 of Rhett McBride, and this is not normally something we see with the... Oh, caution is out into the air, and I was wondering why people are slowing down and trying to find out who was involved. It looks like Calvin Filarski, who we were just talking about, big damage to his car. Let's take a look at the replay to see what happened. And from what I briefly saw, it looks like it's a classic case of hitting the turn 4 wall. You see 39 come up, touches the safer barrier, and off he went sideways into the wall. Did a pretty good job of slowing the car down, but unfortunately a lot of damage to that 39.
Yeah, we just talked about how well he's doing. You hate to see that. I can see him, though, salvaging his race car, fixing the damage he can fix, and then just coasting around and just trying to finish and get a decent point stay out of it.
It's alright on board now with the 39. You can see him already in the high line. Already has some right front damage to begin with, and then just got tight, and by the time you know it, you're already there in the wall, and hard break for him, especially since we were just talking about how well he was doing moving up through the grid. Now is going to be all that progress pretty much taken away from him. But as the field comes around now, we're gonna have green flag pit stop. Just have pit stops underway here as we're under caution, lap 21. Scott Eckridge gonna lead the field down on pit road, and pit road's gonna be a very busy place.
The last person, though, who wanted to see that caution was second place Greg Evans. Greg Evans had actually caught Scott Eckridge and was on his bumper right when that caution came out. So the duct tape, show tape car had gotten faster as that run developed.
And there we see everyone's left sides go up, and already drivers heading down. We're going to throw up the race off a pit road graphic, and it looks like Greg Evans is going to be at Scott Eckridge. Drew Carroll going to make up 2 spots, as well as Timothy Johnson. Thomas George going to lose 1 spot, and DeBarro being the biggest loser out of all of them. He's going to lose 4 spots and fall back to 7th place. So he's going to have a lot of ground to make up there.
Yeah, Anthony DeBarro in the Coors Light car did lose a lot of spots on pit road there. Led the most laps at Daytona, ended up finishing 28th place, 1 lap down, but had a great showing at Daytona.
Yeah, indeed he did, and it's unfortunate to see. I was looking at his pit stop. He had one of the fastest pit stops, 13.7 for him. So I believe he probably had trouble getting into his box, as a lot of people do. And it's always on that first pit stop that you really underestimate how much you need to brake for it. And you just end up sliding through. So hopefully he doesn't make the same mistake again tonight. But if you're just tuning in, he had a solid 20-lap opening stint with everyone getting spread out quite decently here. Scott Eckridge led all of those laps, and now new leader Greg Evans. He's going to be taking command of the field when we come back to green.
Yeah, really clean, good race so far. It's surprised to get 20 laps under green flag with how many cars are in here, but that just goes to show how good of drivers these people are, and the quality of field that we have on display here tonight.
Indeed he does, and I mean, still every single one of the cars that that started this race is still out there putting laps. And I'm curious, 42 William Long, he's on pit road. I'm trying to see if he's in the car, and he is not in the car, and looks like, oh, there he goes. He is in the car, so he's going to get rolling again. So yeah, so every single one of the 40 drivers that have started the race is still running after 20 laps, and I mean, considering we only got a caution 20 laps in is absolutely fantastic, because usually with the guys, you know, not everyone's a professional driver. Obviously, a lot of these guys are just amateurs doing this for fun. So the fact to get 20 green flag laps in and some pretty good racing on top of that is a fantastic feat from the FUEL Cup Series, and hope to see it as the season goes on. Really excited for this league with the massive amount of numbers. Again, also, if you turned in that we sent 10 drivers home. So that's another impressive feat as well. The fact that there are more drivers entering than they can really take. So looks like we're just about to get the one to go here. Greg Evans is going to be your leader. Scott Eckridge in second. It looks like it's going to be Drew Carroll. He's going to be restarting third on the inside. Timothy Johnson fourth, and Thomas George will be rounding out your top 5 when they go back arena. And any favorites that you find now, Jarrett? Any favorite drivers?
I'm really interested to see how this restart goes. Scott Eckridge on that short run was able to build up a second lead there on Greg Evans, but once that run developed, Greg Evans reeled him back in and would have had a good shot of them had that caution not come out. So in the short term, I like Scott Eckridge, but if this race continues green for a while, I'm a big Greg Evans fan.
Indeed, I'm sure there's a lot of them tonight. There you see the massive field roll onto the back straightaway. There's a big view of them. I'm sure my computer is not liking this one bit. With all 40 of these cars there taking the pace lap. But yeah, half a lap to green now. Greg Evans is going to lead the field for the first time tonight. And we'll see how he can do. Is Scott Eckert going to be aggressive on the start, or will he kind of bite into it and just kind of sit behind the 46? So we'll see how that turns out. But as these guys work through turn number 4, Pace car is going to make the left turn off the pit road. We're going to get the restart here. Coming to lap 25. Waiting on Greg Evans. There he jumps, and green flag is back in the air here at Kansas.
Greg Evans first across the line, the 70 car about a car length back as they race cleanly down into turn number 1. Scott Eckert able to clear 3rd place, but then try to dive down to the bottom of Greg Evans' series. They head off into turn number 2.
Yeah, indeed, Scott Eckert's trying to get the move done there, but can't get it done. Lost a lot of speed, too. Greg Evans, a lot of momentum, so he looks like he's going to be stuck in second. Has no competition from behind, but there I see a pass. DeBarro to the inside, trying to make a move. And a huge pack here midfield.
Yeah, back there with DeBarro, Brian Yezik. There was some contact back there, but nothing bad. As they head off, this front pack of 7 cars seems to have distanced themselves from the rest of the field.
Indeed, as they see Yazik now making a move to the inside of Timothy Johnson, trying to get make a move for position, but can't get it done. And just in behind them, Jeff Ward looking like he was trying to go to the inside of Mitchell Welker, but it looks like he's got some nose damage on his 89 machine, and that's actually kind of funny because if you look out his on his onboard cam, you can see the 55 of Yazik with some rear damage. So I think these two guys had some contact at some point.
Yeah, there was the contact I was talking about off turn 4. I was slight contact. No one wrecked, no one got loose, but obviously it did some visual damage to the cars. We'll see if there's any mechanical damage as well.
And very close fight here for 3rd place. These guys getting themselves trying to get themselves sorted out. There you see Yazik now making a big lunge to the inside of Timothy Johnson, also trying to get alongside Thomas George in the 9 car. And man, that 55 is the only driver rocking the bottom lane at the moment.
Yeah, Brian Yazik's been real aggressive on that inside line. It looks like it could pay off for him here if he can dive it in deep enough into turn number 1. Almost clears the 9 car, and then now is on the inside of the 87 of Drew Carroll in 4th place. But looks like Brian Yazik in 5th place for now.
Looking on back through the rest of the field, there's a driver we haven't talked about, Philip Radicic. Again, sorry if I'm saying that name wrong. I believe that's how you say it. He's currently in 16th place, and actually just ahead of him, a big fight for position. Tim Stillman and Christopher Matthews side by side for position. And even up ahead, too, these guys are still getting racy here. Mitchell Welker now is going to take the bottom lane, trying to see what Yazik did and trying to make that work in that Ford Fusion. And almost during each other off of 2.
As much as Welker and Yazik are going at it up here, is 2nd place. Scott Eckert and Anthony DeBarro going at it for 2nd. And the one guy who loves to see all this is Greg Evans. He's riding off.
Yeah, Greg Evans is currently driving off into the sunset here. He's got a half a second lead over Scott Eckert, and this is similar to what we saw Eckert do. He was able to break away from the rest of the field. Now DeBarro looking to the inside of Scott Eckert, trying to fight for 2nd place. They're going to be side by side off of 2. I think Scott Eckert is going to win the fight at the moment.
Don't count DeBarro out yet. DeBarro's really fast on that inside, and if he can get the run off any corner here, I can see him darting down to make sure he's got that inside line for the next one.
Yeah, and it looked like he was building up a run mid-corner, but wasn't able to make anything happen of it. And there you see off. You can see the entire field coming through the front straightaway, mostly single file, as they sorted themselves out.
It's always hard to tell when a driver has a good display at Daytona or at any super speedway whether or not that'll translate to a speedway, and it looks like in the case of Anthony DeBarro it has done so far tonight.
Thomas Bresci to the inside of Nick Cohen, trying to make a pass for position. They're fighting for 10th place at the moment. Cohen rocking the outside. Bresci, ooh, someone
is blown up.
Oh, is that Gabriel Perry?
That looks like to be the 89 of Jeff Ward, who blew up coming out of turn number 4 by the looks of it.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate here. I'm trying to catch him as he's falling down the order. And tough break for the 89 car. Let's try to we'll take a replay. We'll take a look at a replay to see what happened to him, but he just kind of blew an engine.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. I don't know, maybe he downshifted accidentally or something like that, but your 4th place finish here at Daytona, you really hate to see that if you're him.
Yeah, riding on board with him now. And here's where the engine, you could hear it just start to give up. And I'm actually kind of curious. I think it might be due to the nose damage he had on that car.
Could have been nose damage. Could have maybe put some more tape on there that last pit stop. Who knows? But you know, either way, it's unfortunate that he won't be able to continue here tonight.
Yeah, he might be the first retirement of the night here, but Greg Evans still leading the field. Scott Eckridge holding off 2 cars, charging behind him. DeBarro and Drew Carroll in the 27 and the 87 respectively. They're all over him at the moment, and Scott Eckridge can't seem to get him away from them and even get up to Greg Evans. So this is similar to what we saw with the leader getting off to a pretty impressive about a second lead, and the rest of the field tailing him behind. So Scott Eckridge and Greg Evans have kind of switched spots in that respect from the opening run, and I'm sure Greg Evans is enjoying this.
Yeah, Scott Eckridge and Anthony DeBarro's racing allowed Drew Carroll to get up there and compete for the second place spot, and they're going to be going at it for a few laps here. These are all really fast guys who can obviously race really close to each other without causing too much carnage. And as we say that, Anthony DeBarro dives it down, and they're side by side down the backstretch.
Side by side indeed. Now we'll see what DeBarro can do. It's going to be hard to make the pass on the inside. He's going to have to charge it in the corner and try to clear by corner exit, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Scott Eckridge is going to ride the outside. He's going to get a big run, and DeBarro has to give up that spot. But here comes now Drew Carroll to his outside.
Yeah, Drew Carroll will have the favorite outside line here as they head off into one. That'll give him the advantage, depending on how deep Anthony DeBarro is able to drive it in there, which is, to be fair to Anthony DeBarro, pretty deep, but he'll run into the train that currently is Scott Eckridge and Drew Carroll, and unable to clear anyone on that move.
Yeah, I think what we start to see here is almost a reverse Martinsville. Instead of the inside line being the dominant lane, it's the outside that's pretty much so. We've seen Thomas Bressley, he was struggling earlier trying to get the line to work, and you see DeBarro slot in line to clear himself for position. Speaking of Thomas Bressley, he's currently running in 8th, but we saw Bressley trying to run that inside line, trying to make that work, but just couldn't get it done. He just got freight train on the outside lane. Ooh, Mitchell Welker in the wall hard. Almost spinning it off into one, but looks like he's going to be able to recover nicely. A little bit of right side damage to that number 7 machine, but he's going to keep it going on. But yeah, that could have been a really bad break for the Mitchell Welker.
Yeah, it seemed like it was going to be there for a second. You know, he hit the wall, got really loose, was able to do a really good job saving it, and actually didn't even lose any spots in the process. So awesome job by Mitchell Welker on that one.
Yeah, well, keep an eye if that damage affects him, but looking on through the rest of the grid, seeing Brian show that he was in a fight, but Brian Green in the 06 just behind Derek Paulson in 17th. Both those guys trying to fight for a position. Justin Schwingle and Rick Thompson side by side on the back straightaway. They're fighting for 19th and 8th for 19th position. See the 47 now chucking it up the inside, but Rick Thompson going to ride that outside lane.
Yeah, it looks like the outside lane trumps all here, which we could have saw that going in. The fastest guys in practice were running the high side and having great success with it. So really, I feel like the best way to pass someone is going to be to hope they make a mistake on that high side line and then take advantage of it.
Indeed it is, and I gotta say, much better week looking ahead for Rick Thompson compared to last week. Got wrecked out at Daytona, was the defending champion for Daytona, so unfortunately wasn't able to defend that, but and crashed out of the race. But here he is running in 19th, looking to have a solid day. And up the head, I see the 21 of Nick Cohen, looking like he was making a pass to the inside of Timothy Johnson, but couldn't get it done. Brian Yazik still ahead of Bresci, and these guys still single file here on the outside lane. Nuo just up ahead. I see DeBarro looking to the inside of Scott Eckridge. Wow, almost hitting him off of 2.
Yeah, if Scott Eckridge got any looser off turn number 2, they definitely would have made contact. But there you go, Anthony DeBarro able to clear him and hopefully start to reel in Greg Evans there.
Yeah, indeed, trying to see if he can reel him in. We'll look on board with Drew Carroll behind. He's got a fantastic view of this fight.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Drew Carroll has his popcorn ready as they're going at it again. Scott Eckridge back down to the inside of Anthony DeBarro coming off turn number 2.
Yeah, and Eckridge struggling to hold that inside line, lost a lot of momentum, and you can see here Drew Carroll now with a big run on Eckridge.
Yeah, Drew Carroll got a big one there, and Greg Evans, again, so happy to see all this. 1.5 seconds now he leads by as he crosses the start-finish line here for lap 42 of 117.
Yeah, I'm interested now in seeing this 27 of Anthony DeBarro, if he's going to have enough to try to chase down Greg Evans. The gap is now about 1.4 seconds, so he's got a lot of work to do, but I think he might have something here if this race continues to go green.
Yeah, ever since Anthony DeBarro got by Scott Eckridge there, the gap has shrunk from 1.5 seconds now to 1.2 seconds. So Anthony DeBarro actually trying the inside here. That's interesting. And it worked out for him in that corner.
Indeed it does, but I see a little bit of chaos here back midfield around 10th place as it gets sorted out on the straightaway. It was just Cohen diving to the inside, and Gabriel Perry now currently running in 11th, was able to move up quite a few spots. Woody Mahan is currently in 12th, and Philip Radocic, he's currently running in 13th with about 16th, so has moved up a few spots as well.
It looks like Jeff Ward has retired that race car of his from that blown engine. Unfortunate to see that was the first retirement of the night.
Yeah, indeed so, but interesting. Oh, and Bressie hard into the wall on the front straightaway.
Oh, that's a lot of damage for Thomas Bressie.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find his car as he was falling down the order.
Yeah, looks like coming off of turn number 4 there. Scraped the wall a little bit, got loose, overcorrected it, went hard, right back hard into the wall, and he has a lot of damage on the right rear side of his car.
Yeah, indeed he does. He's currently running in around 13th place, so tough break for him. We'll take a look at the replay for that incident.
Whoa! Scott Eckrich had a scary time off of turn number 2 there. And I think he might have disconnected.
Yeah, I think he did. He's currently being scored in 37th. We'll try to take a look at what happened there.
He hit that wall hard off of turn number 2 and started to slide into the inside of the apron there on the backstretch. And I thought he was going to come back up the track. Did a good job saving it, what I thought, and then he disconnected. So maybe he had to switch to prevent himself from coming back up on track.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it here. I gotta apologize. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find these incidents, but ATVO is being really laggy for me, and you could probably notice it on the scoring as well, being a little bit behind. But here, nonetheless, we're looking now as the 76, Rick Thompson, making a pass on the inside of the 86, John Boris. He's gonna get that spot, and there you see Bressie mired back in 15th after the damage that happened to him. And whoa, big move from the 06 of Brian Green to the apron, trying to go to the inside of that 86, and he's going to get the spot there. But back up to the front of the field, nothing much is really changed here, except these guys are fighting for position. How about Nick Cohen moving himself up into 6th place?
Yeah, Nick Cohen, there was a great job moving up into 6th place on the bumper there with Mitch Welker, trying to make his way into the top 5. Ahead of them, big gap to Thomas George, and actually, don't look now, but Anthony DeBarro has cut that gap to the lead down to half a second.
Yeah, and I was curious of what DeBarro could do, and it looks like he's going to be able to try to make that up. But here we see Cohen now to the inside of Mitchell Welker, who, remember, has some damage after hitting the wall. And looks like Cohen's going to try to clear Welker. Welker just on the outside quarter penalty, touch barely in incoming off of turn 2. Welker not giving up that spot just yet. And Cohen going to try to clear on entry, and Welker, looks like Welker is giving him a little bit of a bump.
Yeah, usually when you make contact with that speed, it doesn't end well for any driver. But we see the caution come out now here. Right as Nick Cohen passed Mitch Welker for 5th place.
And indeed, caution is out, trying to look through to see what happened. And I think it's involved the 88 of Tyler Dulger. And we'll try to catch a replay of that incident. So here's Dulger. Ooh, and looks like he just got doored off of 2 and went flying into the infield wall, hit hard, and that's what brought out the caution. I'll try to get another look at it to see who that was that hit him. Looks like the 42 of, I believe that is William Long. He got into Tyler Dulger, and Dulger tried to save it. Hard lick the inside wall there. And that looks like that's going to end the 88's day right then and there.
Yeah, William Long doesn't seem to have too much damage, though, on his race car. He seems like he's good to go, but it's unfortunate that the race ended for the other one there, Tyler Dulger.
Indeed it is. Drivers in on pit road, and pit stops are now underway, so we'll see now how these guys are going to work it out. Does anyone dare to try some strategy here? We're just a little bit under halfway through this race. Do you think anyone's going to dare to try to do 2 tires, or do you think we're going to see 4 tire stops all the way around?
I hope for the sake of the whole field no one tries to do 2 tires. That was a very long green flag run there. longer even than the first one. It was about 30 laps. And looks like everyone took 4 as Greg Evans wins the race off of pit road.
Yeah, there you see the race off pit road there on the right as everyone else comes on. Actually, I just saw Scott Eckridge come back out on the track, so might have had some internet issues in that 70. So nice to see that it wasn't a manual disconnect. So he's back out on the track. Unfortunately, he's listed as 5 laps down. So this caution was actually kind of a big break for him to lessen the blow to that. But tough break for our last week winner. He's going to lose a lot of points here. He's currently scored in 38th just due to the sheer amount of cars that are on the track.
Yeah, coming into this race, Scott Eckridge was the leader in points for the FUEL HostVenom Cup Series, followed by Brian Yezik, and then 4 points behind. And then Drew Carroll was in 3rd place, 6 points behind first. Drew Carroll having a pretty good run so far in 4th place, but tough break for Scott Eckridge, who won Daytona last week.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break here. Again, I'm still having troubles with ATVO, so I'm going to try to restart the program just to kind of fix that up for the next half of this race. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to get you the restart here in the FUEL HostVenom Cup Series. Alright, welcome back here to the FUEL HostVenom Cup Series here at Kansas for round number 2. Ignore the fact that it's currently listing the time remaining in the session as opposed to the laps. Hopefully that should fix itself out here shortly. Although I kind of doubt it because it's even messing up the amount of laps on my timing and how many laps we have left to go. So we'll hopefully try to figure something out because ATVO does not want to work tonight. But as we set up here, your fuel to the restart, Greg Evans, Anthony DeBarro, Thomas George, Drew Carroll, and Timothy Johnson will round out your top 5. Greg Evans is going to lead these guys back to the start. And green flag back in the air here at Kansas.
Very slow start for Anthony DeBarro on that high start as Thomas George is able to get a great restart. He's almost on the back bumper of Greg Evans. They head down into turn number 1.
Indeed, now DeBarro now to the inside of Thomas George. He's trying to fight, and you can see there visually on the screen that the track has gone from night to day as we started in the morning, and now we're on where it's currently sunrise here at Kansas. But DeBarro now to the inside of Thomas George, fighting for a position for second place.
Anthony DeBarro will clear him off of turn number 4, but Thomas George is right back on his back bumper as they cross the start-finish line. Anthony DeBarro has his sights set now on Greg Evans.
Thomas George currently running in 3rd, start in 4th, so not much movement from him. He's had a pretty solid day as the race has gone on, but behind him he's under attack from the 87 of Drew Carroll, who looks like he wants to take away 3rd place.
Yeah, Drew Carroll's been fast all day. The highest we've seen him is about this 4th place area right now, but you know he's dying to get up into that 2nd and even maybe 1st spot tonight before this race ends.
And how about the 43 Filip Radocic? He's currently in 8th place. Has moved, finally cracked the top 10 barrier. Oh, Mitchell Welker sideways got a tap from the 8 of Woody Mahan, and they're both sideways off the corner. And they somehow both save it. Fantastic job from both these guys. But Mitchell Welker now middle, 3 wide. Rhett McBride to the inside, and now Rick Thompson to the outside.
Yeah, what an incredible save that was by both the 8 car of Woody Mayhem and the 7 car of Mitchell Welker. That could have been really bad for both drivers and then some.
Indeed, I see on board with Mitchell Welker. He had a pretty scary moment there, trying to now rebound. Is going to be the biggest task for him to do as he's going to the inside of Rhett McBride. And how about Rhett McBride? We can try to pull it up here. Started in 37th, is now currently up in 11th. And ooh, Mitchell Welker almost gets into the wall there. So not Mitchell Welker, Travis McQuistion in the 93 almost gets into the wall there. And he started back in 36. So McBride and McQuistion doing a fantastic job working through the field.
Battle at the back.
Oh, battle up front.
Battle at the front for the leads. Even more exciting as Anthony DeBarro dives it in on Greg Evans there. Before they crossed the line last time, they were side by side, but Greg got that run off the corner. And Anthony, he seems to really have been the only one who can make that inside pass work so far tonight.
Yeah, and really, it all comes down to timing for that pass. And there you see the timing scoring finally fixed itself to lap 58 of 117. But definitely, as we're seeing here, this race is far from over. As DeBarro now trying to challenge Greg Evans. Wasn't able to do it, but the top 3 have entirely broken away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, caution is out here at Kansas Speedway. We will try to find...
Oh, and it looks like Corey Boudinot, huge damage to his nose. He has actually no nose now. The radiator exposed to the air. He's got a huge amount of damage to that 34 car. We'll take a look and see what happened to him. And we're right on board first. Looks like he almost got into the 0-1 of Justin Rodden. And as they came off the corner, ooh, got in contact, I believe, with a 33, and into the wall he went hard. And we'll take another look at that replay from the TV cameras. And here you see the 34 there. It is inside the 33 car and hard into the wall for the 33. And ooh, Brian Chambliss also gets a piece of that. Oh, and Calvin Filarski also went sliding into the wall as well, as the 06 of Brian Green, he got collected in that mess as well. 33 was John Rodden. He got that a little piece there of the incident, and that's gonna involve all those guys in that wreck. So
yeah,
hopefully they can fix their cars.
Just racing hard off of turn number 4 there, and just collected a few of them. It was just, you know, one of those racing deals. I don't think anyone involved can be too upset about that, but unfortunate for those who were involved and had really bad damage to the race cars tonight.
Indeed it is, and as you can see, no one, or very few drivers are behind Greg Evans, and actually, Anthony DeBarro is on pit road, actually leading quite a few drivers down there as well. So, but couple of mixed strategies here. Again, we didn't really have too long of a green flag run. I'll pull up, actually I won't pull up the stint graphic because that's not working because I restarted the program, so... iRacing ATO is working fantastically for me tonight, if you cannot tell. But there we see the few drivers on pit road. They're trying to get pit stops underway, and this is going to be interesting here, seeing these guys with fresh tires and seeing if they can make it up back to the front. Yeah,
the leaders top 4. You got Greg Evans, Anthony DeBarro, Drew Carroll. They all have 10 laps on their tires, so the people who did pit will have 10 laps fresher tires. We'll see how much that affects them in the long run.
Yeah, so the top 4 are the only drivers that stayed out. Everyone else came down on pit lane, so going to be interesting seeing how this works out. Nick Cohen's going to move himself up into 4th place again. Sorry, Nick, if you're watching this later. Your paint scheme isn't loading. Don't know why. I think probably a trading paints error, as we've had a few of those tonight as well. Also, the 15 car, that's Cody Tabor. Currently 13 laps down. He's also got a black car, so apologize to him there as well with trading paints not working. So he's actually going to pull into the pits, come get service to his car. Currently 13 laps down, riding in 38th is the last car driving around. We have 2 retirements, the 88 of Tyler Dulger and the 89 of Jeff Ward. So still running with 38 cars on the track as we're just under halfway through this race. And so what do you I asked you earlier, Jarrett, about who you thought has a good shot at this race, and you mentioned Scott Eckrich, who currently after some troubles, he's several laps down, so he's pretty much out of the equation. But we still have Greg Evans up there. Does anyone else interest you as far as getting the race win?
Honestly, you know, the guy I said who has the only inside line move I've seen successful so far, Anthony DeBarro, he sits back there in 5th place, the first car to have pitted, so he has 10 laps fresher tires than those leaders. And, you know, if we see a green flag run like we saw the first one and the second one, that gamble to pit's going to pay off big, and I can see him pulling away from this field. I will not count out, though, Greg Evans, although he is on older tires, he's been the class of the field all day, class of the field all of last season, so you can never really count him out in this series.
And here's the thing too that we didn't really account for, and I remember reading about this, that this was going to be a morning race. I didn't realize it was going to be really early in the morning, so much so that it went from pretty much pitch blackout, which is what I thought it was a night race, was actually really early in the morning. It's now morning. I don't know what the in-sim time is, but it's now currently daylight, and what that means is actually I'll bring this up, and we'll keep an eye on it as the race goes on. I'm trying to find the weather graphic through this. It's somewhere here.
Kind of feels like the 24 hours of Daytona, doesn't it? From night to day transition.
Pretty much so, and track temperature that you see is 79 degrees, ambient air temp is 78, so not not really a big difference here, but as this race goes on, as we approach lap 100, we're going to be within a pretty good amount of sunlight here, so the track's going to start to warm up, and we're definitely going to see this track conditions change, and the reason I'm mentioning is that usually, almost always, races are typically on the oval side of things, and just in general, typically run from day to night. Not really the inverse. So this could be a really big here with the track. Instead of getting from loose to grippy, which is what a lot of these drivers are probably used to, this track's going to go from being grippy to more slick. So these guys might have to account for it in their driving strategy. Instead of being more aggressive as the race goes on, maybe back it down a bit to make sure that they don't get involved in anything. But that'll be something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I do want to mention the 5 guys who were able to race their way in through that heat race, sorry. That race was run in the daytime, so if anyone has experience racing this track in the daytime, it's those 5 drivers. And I think the one most advanced through the field right now is Travis McQuiston down there in 11th place.
Yeah, McQuiston there, you see him in 11th there, but pace car is going to be turning off to pit road, and Greg Evans is going to jump the start here. He's going to get the green flag. Green flag is back in the air here at Kansas, and a big mashup of cars here as they head off into turn 1.
Yeah, bad start there for Nick Cohen. He wasn't able to get the tires going as Anthony DeBarro is already making his way up into 3rd place, going for 2nd here as they come off of turn number 2. Unable to get it done, but he will be side by side with Thomas George as they race down the backstretch.
You see the entire field zooming on by, but Anthony DeBarro, we saw he was one of the few drivers we mentioned being able to make moves here. He's now to the inside of Thomas George. He's going to clear Thomas George and already to the back bumper of Greg Evans. Remember, it was one of the first drivers to take fresh tires, and he's taking advantage of it here, trying to chase down Greg Evans.
Yeah, and he's actually the only guy that pitted so far to be able to break through that top 4 who didn't pit, and he's actually going for the lead right now from Greg Evans off of turn number 2.
And these guys are going to be drag racing side by side behind them. Battle for the lead here. The 27 DeBarro to the inside of Greg Evans. Can Evans hold the top lane? And I don't think he's going to be able to. DeBarro gasses it up mid-corner. He's going to clear Greg Evans. New leader, the 27 of Anthony DeBarro. But behind them, these guys are 3 right fighting for position. Radicic now in the 43. He's broken the top 5 for the first time tonight.
Yeah, Radicic, another one of those guys who pitted on that last caution, was able to have fresher tires, so he's breaking through, and it looks like that gamble to stay out for the leaders is not paying off so far.
Indeed it is, and again, we only saw a 10-lap difference, but I'm absolutely amazed at how much it's affected these guys. I thought they would have been able to hold themselves a little bit more, but there you see Cohen now stuck back in 7th, and guys passing him on the inside, something we haven't really been able to see much of tonight.
Yeah, if you're one of those 4 guys that sit out, you are begging for a caution right now. The longer this green flag run continues, the more advantage these guys who pitted have. So, you know, if you're Greg Evans, you're begging for a caution right now.
Indeed you are, but you can see the gap already almost a second as DeBarro races off into the distance. Greg Evans currently under attack from the 43 of Radocic in 3rd place, trying to fight. There you see him side by side now with Evans, the 46 and the 43, racing to the line.
Yeah, Philip Radicic was able to finish 17th at Daytona on the lead lap, and now he finds himself in 2nd here at Kansas Motor Speedway as he's able to get around Greg Evans and clear him, successfully racing out of the back.
Yeah, you can see most of the field sorting themselves out. Really, the only passing, most of the passing is going on for the guys who stayed out. They're still kind of falling back a little bit as Cohen's the last place car, and he's last of the group that stayed out, and is now under attack from Gabriel Perry, who looks to his outside.
Yeah, Travis McQuiston here gained a lot of spots since that restart. I said he restarted 11th, now he's going for 5th place on the inside of Thomas George. Thomas George, another one of those guys, leaders who stayed out.
Looks like McQuiston was able to make the pass to Thomas George. Here comes now Johnson, but behind them, 3 wide for position as Mitchell Welker is heading it up the inside. The 0-5 of Derek Paulson. I haven't talked a lot about him today. He's in the middle of this battle.
Yeah, they were 3 wide off turn 4. That got really hairy for a second. And Mitchell Welker has been the middle of excitement here today. You know, I feel like every time we look at him, he's either side by side with someone or making contact with someone. It's been incredible to watch so far here today.
Yeah, here you see him kind of surrounded by cars on all fronts. He's surrounded in the front, the back, and the side. The 25 there of Brandon Minto. To the inside of Welker trying to make a pass, but no, Welker gonna send it. He's gonna tap the 0-5 of Paulson, move him out of the way. He's gonna send it up the inside again, making a pass. Very aggressive move. He's now gonna be side by side with the 76 of Rick Thompson, and man, he's really not giving anything to these guys. He's going for it.
Yeah, he's going for it for sure. I think Derek Paulson does have a little bit of damage from that contact, but you know, Mitchell Welker, 26th place last week at Daytona, last car to finish on the lead lap, so he's having a great run here today.
Oh, now Welker now in front of Paulson. Does Paulson return the favor as they head off into 3? Looks like Paulson's going to back off of it and give Welker the space to the inside of them, though. Brandon Minto trying to hold the inside line, can't get it done. And up ahead of them, Drew Carroll fighting with Greg Evans. This is going to be a battle for 3rd place. As you can see now, gap between Anthony DeBarro and Filip Radocic is currently 1.4 seconds. Radocic is then 1.3 seconds ahead of Greg Evans. So these guys on older tires are losing a lot of time to the lead. Here comes now the 87 of Drew Carroll to the inside, and he's going to make a clean pass. Evans has nothing for him.
Yeah, Drew Carroll again, 10-lap fresher tires, then Greg Evans there. So if he can complete this pass, and he'll start driving away from him there. But Greg Evans, though, does a good job on the inside off turn number 4 to almost clear him back down as the head race into turn number 1.
And I think it's all going to be kind of all for naught. There you can see the 87 getting a huge run off the corner. He's going to have nothing for him. Now Gabriel Perry with a run is going to make a pass to the inside of Greg Evans as they head off into turn 3. And Evans, I mean, you got to feel for him. He's pretty much helpless in this scenario with these older tires.
Yeah, what we saw right there from Drew Carroll in turn number 1 and turn number 2, that's the difference right there. You know, Greg Evans had that inside line, but once Drew Carroll had that high side, he was always going to drive away from him.
Indeed, and behind them, Travis McQuiston and Thomas George are going to be side by side for position. Battle for 6th place between these two guys. And again, this is another situation of older tires versus newer. And Thomas George, he gives a little bit of a tap to the left bumper of McQuiston, but I don't think he's going to have much of anything to do with it. And McQuiston's going to get that spot.
Yeah, you know, a bump in that scenario probably helped McQuiston out a little bit, you know, gave him some more speed down the backstretch, but he's lucky that wasn't in the corner, or else could have a few wrecked race cars here today.
Yeah, not sure what happened to the 55 of Brian Yazik, but he's currently back in 22nd position. We saw him fighting up there in the top 10. Not much damage to the car other than what he had already. You see him make a big move to the outside of the 8 of Woody Mahan and also to the 06 of Brian Green. He's going to get those 2 positions there. But you see him right behind Thomas Bresci, who we saw struggle earlier, and still has a lot of right side damage to the car. And this is really for that 24. It's just a matter of nursing that car to the finish.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Thomas Bresci. He was actually up front for the first 2 stints there, and then he got really hard into that wall off turn number 4. So if he can nurse it around and, you know, finish this race, it'll be a decent points day for him, all things considered.
You see Yazik making the pass, and that only moves Yazik up into 20th place. So Yazik still has a lot of work to do to get back to where he's running, and I think he can do so with the time remaining, although he's got to start making moves now.
Yeah, and there still is a lot of time. I mean, we're only on lap 77 of 117, so about 40 laps to go. And anything can happen in that stretch of time. But, yeah, good run so far from Brian Yazik. Could be better, though.
Yeah, now we see Brandon Minto to the inside of Mitchell Welker. He's trying to move up a spot. We saw this battle earlier, but it's not yet decided. Minto can't get the pass done. He's going to have to settle in for position here. Most of the top part of the pack are settled out. And how about Rhett McBride? He's mired back here in 26, which is kind of surprising, was in the final 4 or final 3 drivers for the championship last season. Not sure where he finished, but it was definitely in the top 3, I can guarantee you that. But McBride currently mired back in 25th, kind of struggling to get the car moving forward.
Yeah, Rhett McBride, hard to count him out. You know, last year you said he was in the final 3 drivers in standings. Ended up finishing 3rd in the standings with 1 win, 11 top 5s, and 16 starts. So if today's an off day, expect next week for him to be a bounce back one.
Yeah, definitely. So you see him moving to the inside of Woody Mahan, who's currently struggling on this run, trying to move forward. He's been passed by several cars, and also how about Gale Brooks? He was mired back in the pack early on. I believe he's trying to find where he started. He started back in 27th, so he's moved up 5 spots as the night's gone on. So making some slow forward progress in the 71.
One thing I do want to mention is off of turn 4 that last time, 4th place Gabriel spun and was in the grass, and he's fallen all the way back down to 20th position, so he'll try to work his way back up through the field.
Yeah, and actually we'll take a look at that replay, because that's pretty big for Perry, and again, wasn't able to race at Daytona last week, so this is going to just be more disappointment for him.
And the caution does come out on the track.
And we'll cut back live to see what happened. And not sure who that involved. I believe the 77 of Rich Jet looks like he's involved in that. So we'll take a look and try to find what happened to him. And I think I just saw what happened there on screen. So there you see Gabriel Perry, who we were just talking about, had some problems, got mired back in the pack. And then this is coming off of turn 4, hard into the wall from the 77 into Gabriel Perry, and they went sliding through the front stretch grass.
Yeah, unfortunate. Gabriel Perry, had a really good run in 4th place, like you said, unable to do Daytona. So he was really feeling good about his chances, and then just grip got the worst of him there.
And there you see the 77 get into the wall there and wrecking into the 13, and that's really unfortunate for Perry, who was on top of the world, running in 4th, and now he's caught spun out with some damage to the right side and mired in the back of the pack.
Coming down, it looks like Anthony DeBarro, although his tires are 20 laps old, he will make the smart decision to pit here.
Yeah, I think we're going to see mistakes. I think we're going to see everyone make the trip down pit road. I think we just saw the dominance of the tires at work there. So I think these guys know that the tires are valuable, and they know that they can't really give up any spots on it. So here we see now guys on pit road ready to make their stops, and we'll see. We saw last time that Greg Evans did a fantastic job getting himself ahead of Scott Eckrich when he was in the lead. So now does Evans pull maybe some other strategy to kind of get himself back up in front?
Yeah, when that caution came out, Anthony DeBarro had accrued nearly a 2-second lead on 2nd place, and then 2nd place had a really big lead on 3rd place. So he probably hated to see that caution. The most close race off pit road here, and it looks like Greg Evans might have won the race.
Yeah, Greg Evans did. DeBarro's going to fall back a spot. Radocic is going to keep 3rd place, or he's going to fall back to 3rd place, was running in 2nd.
What a stop that was by Greg Evans' crew. 6/10 faster than Anthony DeBarro's crew is able to manage. So Greg Evans has to be thanking them right now.
Yeah, indeed. And also I think he's got to be thinking, it's kind of hard to see from this angle, but I'll keep on this angle anyway, is the fact that he does have that second pit stall, which is very advantageous because he doesn't really have to, he can just kind of stomp on the gas and get going compared to the other guys behind him. So it's really advantageous to have those first few pit stalls, and I think we saw that happen there with the 46 Evans helping him get out in front.
Yeah, it did look like Anthony DeBarro was going to win the race off pit road, and at the last second he had to kind of tap the brakes a little bit. So maybe worried about speeding, getting a penalty, and ruining his day completely. So if that's the case, good awareness by Anthony, and awesome job there by Greg to get out in front.
Yeah, and up there we see the 0-1 of Justin Rodden, who was involved in an earlier incident. He's trying to take the wave around to get himself back down, 1 lap down. It's currently one of the few cars that are running a lap down. In fact, everyone 32nd up is on the lead lap. The only driver is a lap down is the 77 of Rich Ted, who is retired. Justin Rodden is currently first car lap down, 2 laps down. Scott Eckrich is in the pits currently getting service. He has some damage to his right side. 3 laps down, then John Rodden in the 33 is 6, and Corey Boudinot is, I believe, retired and 8 laps down. Actually, no, I don't think he's retired. I think he's getting service on pit road. So he's still running out there. It's currently last car in 37th.
So since you asked me twice, 3 times maybe at this point, I'm going to ask you, who's your favorite right now?
I got to say, probably that 27 Anthony DeBarro. We've seen him being able to take advantage of the pit strategy, being able to use that inside line. Right now, he and Greg Evans are going to be even as far as that's concerned. And actually, looks like, I think even DeBarro might have the outside lane on this restart. So I think we have that. So I think, I still think DeBarro has something for Greg Evans, and honestly, maybe even that 43 of Filip Raducic in the 43. He's driven himself up through the field and has shown some great promise from that 43. I'll be interested in seeing how he does.
It's gonna be really interesting, you know, because Anthony DeBarro was able to get out to that big lead because of the strategy he was able to pull off by pitting and, you know, getting lucky with those 4 cars staying out. But we'll see here with equal conditions how fast he really is and how much Greg Evans really wants this one.
Indeed, we will. So we'll reset the field. So Greg Evans is going to lock the outside lane. DeBarro is going to be restarting second on the inside. Then behind them, Filip Raducic is going to be restarting third. Drew Carroll fourth, and Travis McQuistion moving himself up into 5th place. So solid job by that 93, all things considered, moving himself up through the pack again. Started, I believe, 36th. Has now moved himself up into 6th place. So a gain of 30 positions for the 93.
You know, I wouldn't be too surprised if we're not done with cautions yet. Still a long ways to go. Not, you know, incredibly long, but 30 laps to go here still. So action getting ready to really ramp up here at the end of this Kansas race.
Indeed, pace car is going to be in. DeBarro now pinching Greg Evans up to the wall, trying to get a good start, but here comes Greg Evans. Green flag back in the air. Raducic already on the apron trying to gain some ground on these guys.
Yeah, Anthony DeBarro was not going to let Greg Evans get too far away from him there, and looks like Anthony DeBarro is going to try to hold that white line in turns 1 and 2 there, but unable to.
And we see these guys come off of turn 4, racing down the back straightaway, and some drivers in the back getting into the wall, but the race is still up front here as DeBarro now trying to get a run on Greg Evans. You saw when Evans went low, DeBarro went low. When Evans went high, DeBarro went high. Here he comes down. Big cut down on the front straightaway, trying to make the pass as they head off into 1. It looks like DeBarro's going to clear him on the front straightaway.
Give that lap to DeBarro. DeBarro was able to slide up in front of Greg Evans before they race down to the turn number 1, but Greg Evans is staying right there with them as they head down onto the backstretch.
Yeah, and Evans all over the back bumper of DeBarro, and so is the rest of the field. They're all really tightly packed here. In a line, and there you see Filip Raducic now peeling off, trying to make a pass on the inside of Drew Carroll, and he looks like he might get that spot, and now going to take the fight to Greg Evans on the inside.
Filip Raducic trying to copy there what Anthony DeBarro did, get that run off on turn number 4 and dive it to the inside, and it's going to work for him. He is currently ahead of Greg Evans, unsure he'll be able to clear him off turn number 2 there. But if he really wants to, we can fall back in behind him and secure 3rd place.
Wasn't able to. Drew Carroll was able to get to his outside again, but Raducic is going to try it up the inside. And I think really you can only use the inside line for the first 2 or 3 laps, and then it really starts to be a hindrance. But Raducic is still trying down there to make a pass. Behind them, though, battling going on for the 7th position. How about the 76 of Rick Thompson moving himself up through the field? He's going to clear himself just ahead of Travis McQuistion. McQuistion moving to the inside, but Minto also to the inside. Minto going to back off there as McQuistion is taking no prisoners here, trying to hold off positions.
Yeah, speaking of no prisoners, Greg Evans almost came really close to being able to clear Anthony DeBarro off turn number 2 there. He was unable to get it done, and DeBarro was able to inch back out ahead as Drew Carroll's now on the outside of Greg Evans as they come off of turn number 4 and across the start-finish line.
Indeed, now Evans to the inside of Drew Carroll. He's almost going to door Carroll. Got very close there as they head off into 1. And the top 4 have slowly broken away from the rest of the pack. And I see who behind them, Timothy Johnson, looks like he got a little piece of the wall there. But pretty much 2 distinct packs forming here. And you can see the entire pack racing off of turn 2.
Yeah, you got Filip Raducic now heading to the inside of Greg Evans, but it might be too little too late in terms of his tire wear as Greg Evans able to deal with that. No drama there on that one.
Indeed, it has been some fantastic racing tonight, and it's been almost even better as the sun's come up, and now the track is bathed in sunlight. And we were talking about the track conditions earlier in the race, and we'll pull it up again here. You can see now the track temp 82 degrees as the sun begins to rise, so it's only going to go up from here on out. And now Raducic trying to find some way around Greg Evans. He's going to chuck it up to the inside again, but I don't think he's going to have too much of a run here. Well, actually, as I say that, he's going to be to the inside of Evans. They're going to be side by side heading off into 1.
Yeah, on that time by Filip Raducic was actually able to have the lap scored where he was in 3rd place, and he could have slid up there in front of Greg Evans, but it was unable to do so, and they'll be really close off that corner, and got a little bit loose there to Filip Raducic, and now Greg Evans is back on his outside.
Indeed, I think Raducic might be able to clear him here, actually. As I say that, Evans is now guessed on mid-corner. These guys proving me wrong consistently here. And Evans is going to take back 3rd place.
Yeah, doing a good job of proving you wrong there. Anthony DeBarro and Drew Carroll have kind of been able to pull away from the Greg Evans Radicic train, as DeBarro now has a 0.2 of a second lead on Drew Carroll, who's getting really close to that outside wall in one.
Indeed, as the top four start out, we see a battle now between Rick Thompson and Nick Carroll. I don't know what got lit under what got lit for Rick Thompson, but it's a fire has pretty much sparked in that 76, and he's driven up here inside the top 10 and had a solid previous season, but nothing compared to this. He's competing with probably one of the most competitive fields we've seen in the Fuel Cup Series compared to last season, and is now fighting with the big dogs here for 8th place. But Nick Cohen looks like he's going to get that position, and Thompson's going to be mired back in 8th.
Yeah, Nick Cohen's last year's 2nd place finisher in the standings. As the caution comes out, I'm going to finish my sentence here on Nick Cohen. 8 top 5s, 11 top 10s, and 15 starts, so no surprise he's running well today.
It looks like it was a 0-1 of John Rodden that was involved in that wreck, and pace car is going to come out, so we'll take a look at what happened there. Oh! And it looks like this also involved the 93 of Travis McQuistion. And this has happened in turn 1, so here they come off of turn 4. And it looks like Rodden almost tapped the 93. Oh, they doored each other entering the corner and went sliding down. McQuistion went back into John Rodden trying to save his car, and both these guys went sliding up the track. And tough break for McQuistion, who had a fantastic run. But now,
yeah, he really brought himself back into the conversation, raced his way in through the heat race, and he was actually one of my favorites to finish this race well, because that heat race was running the daytime, and as this track changes, he would have had the advantage.
Here you see a little bit of a tap from John Rodden trying to get to the 93. Ends up dooring him on the front straightaway, and then these guys end up wrecking through the grass in turn 1. And again, tough break for both these drivers. And wow! Calvin Filarski did a fantastic job driving through there. Almost got involved in there, so he was able to avoid that wreck.
Yeah, Kevin Filarski, I bet he closed his eyes and hoped a lot through that one as he's able to get through with no damage. So as I come down to the pit road, Anthony DeBarro will hope for something a little bit different than that last pit stop where Greg Evans was able to beat him out. So we'll see how this one plays out.
Indeed, we will. Pit stops underway here for these guys. This probably might be one of the last few pit stops you see here. There's definitely a chance of a caution coming out again. Nick Cohen coming out of the pits by himself. I imagine that's a 2-tire stop, and everyone else behind DeBarro. And Greg Evans will fall in 2nd, and they see Cohen gaining 5 spots on pit road. So that's a risky strategy, I gotta say. But I think you got to try something here.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if anyone was gonna try to do something like that, it would be now. And I'm not surprised Nick Cohen was able to do it, because honestly, not much to lose here. I mean, we're probably gonna see another caution, and so for him to chance it like that. I can't imagine it going much worse than when the leaders stayed out a few laps ago. So we'll see how it works out for him here. But Anthony DeBarro able to get 2nd place there off the pit road.
Indeed. All right. So we're gonna cut to break again. I'm gonna restart the program. The lag is starting to come back again on ATVO. So I'll give it a little bit of a reboot, and we'll come back for the final, which should be almost 20 laps of this race. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Alright, and we're back here live at Kansas for round number 2 of the FUEL HostVenom Cup Series here. Nick Cohen's your leader after taking a 2-tire stop on that 21 machine, and everyone else behind him taking 4. And we saw earlier, 4 tires versus none, and now we're going to see 2 tires versus 4. I think we might see something similar here, but you never know with the 21 and Nick Cohen. And if you can tell me, because I just got rid of that information because I restarted the program, if you could tell me how many laps did we go on that last stint? Or around how many laps?
I wish I was able to see that, but because he's still pitted though, it resets the stint stat. I could just not be reading ATVO correctly. I'm still new at this, but I mean it's gonna be very interesting to see whether that gamble pays off or not. He will have that high side. He will have the advantage, and we'll see if he can make something positive out of it.
Indeed, we'll see if he can make something positive out of it. But yeah, so Nick Cohen again, driver with 2 tires. He's made a big gamble here. And it's one of those situations where you make your bed, now you have to lay in it. So we'll see now these guys as they come on the back straightaway. We're going to have about 20 laps left to go in this race. And it's really now coming down to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, no going back now for Nick Cohen. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we see another caution. So he's not really buried right now. But, you know, we'll see if it works out for him. If it does, credit to him. And if not, has some time to fix it.
Indeed so. So we'll see now Nick Cohen, DeBarro, Evans, Raducic, and Drew Carroll will be your top 5. As the pace car makes its turn off to pit road. And waiting on Nick Cohen to start the race again. And there you see him get the start. Green flag back in the air here at Kansas.
Not a bad start at all from Nick Cohen. He's actually able to get almost 3 car lengths there on Anthony DeBarro as they head off into turn number 1. And he'll take that inside line and be real aggressive on this restart.
He kind of has to. He has to make sure he doesn't give any way to any of these competitors behind him, because as soon as they get around him, he can't do anything to chase them back down. That's the situation that he's in. But you see behind now Filip Raducic now to the inside of DeBarro as they're going to fight off of turn 4.
Yeah, Nick Cohen, that's exactly what he needs to see in his rearview mirrors. Battles. Is it, you know, it's the same gap that was started when Nick Cohen launched there, but we'll see how this tire wear fades in the second lap here.
Now, Greg Evans on the outside of... Ooh, and caution out in the air.
Out.
Oh, and it looks like the 06 of Brian Green is involved in that. And we'll take a look at what happened to him.
Doesn't seem to have any rear bumper anymore.
Yeah, who got tapped from Mitchell Welker, went hard into the outside wall in turn 1. And someone... Ooh, Don Ronkel got a huge piece of that as well. Got turned into the outside wall, and that's going to be a lot of damage to that 000 machine.
You seem to be one of those circumstances where there's a lot of people going for a little room there, and just made contact there going into 1 in that tricky tri-oval. So unfortunate to see the damage that he has to his car now. But again, Mitchell Welker in the middle of conversation here tonight.
And there you see the tap. Brian Green goes into the wall, and then John Ronkel gets tapped, and actually he also hits, I believe, the 86 of John Boris. He also got a piece of that as well, and those drivers got involved. And we're going to cut back live now. Does anyone dare to make another pit stop here? I'm kind of curious about your opinion on that.
I honestly don't think so. I mean, it's only been 5 laps. Maybe you have some mid-pack drivers trying to, you know, play on that advantage and hope for a long green flag run at the end of this race. But I tell you, someone who loved to see that caution was Nick Cohen. The more laps run under caution, the less he's at a disadvantage. So he's really happy to see that yellow flag come out.
Yeah, indeed. Most of the field coming down to pit road. It looks like the guys in the back. So, and pretty much most of these guys have damage or are just kind of getting fresh tires to get ready for a restart. But yeah, wasn't the final restart of the race, and not entirely surprising. And everyone getting a lot more antsy. The driving conditions not improving. It's getting a little bit. It's getting a little toasty out there. As actually, the check temp has stayed quite a bit the same here at 82 degrees. So it hasn't increased that much for these guys. So still relatively stable conditions. But definitely the anticipation has picked up here. And as a driver, with inside these last 20 laps to go, how do you keep your nerves at bay?
Oh, I don't think you do. I think all gloves are off at this point. You know, you're going for the win now. You're going for the win in the FUEL Cup Series here, the FUEL HostVenom Cup Series here. So, you know, a win's a win. And the drivers know that, and they're going to be going for it hardcore.
Indeed they are. Again, Nick Cohen still on 2 tires, and actually did a solid job. Again, granted it was about only 2 laps on that restart, but it did a pretty solid job of holding off the rest of the field on 2 tires. So I think he might actually have something here, and I think definitely these cautions, taking out the laps, less laps that he has to run on only 2 tires. So it's going to be a big advantage here if we get another caution for Nick Cohen. I think he might be able to win this race.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at this point, anyone can win it. Someone I kind of want to talk about is Timothy Johnson in that 28 car. He's back in 6th place right now. Timothy Johnson, off an incredible showing at Daytona, he was able to finish up in 6th place on the lead lap. And really just building that momentum from last season where we finished 7th in the standings with 1 win, 9 top 5s, and 13 top 10s, and 16 starts. So don't even count him out of this race. I know it's been the Nick, Anthony, and Greg Evans show, even Drew Carroll at times, but let's not count out Timothy Johnston there in 6th place.
Oh yeah, and Kyle actually in chat. Thanks, Kyle. I just completely forgot about that. Nick Cohen still going for his first Fuel Cup Series win here. You almost tend to forget about it. Has won quite a few races in the Fuel IndyCar Series, and has quite a bit of success there. But has been really close to getting a win last season, but was no bite. And here he is now sitting up in the front. Fortunately, his car isn't painted, which would have made this sweeter. But he's still up in the front, leading this pack here as we're going to come down. Probably getting a restart with 14 laps to go. So it should be interesting here. It's going to be pretty much a final shootout. And do you think we're done with cautions?
No, I don't think we're done with cautions. I wouldn't be surprised if we see 2 more, even a quick one, and then one a few laps after that. But I tell you what, it's a shame you can't see the Nick Cohen machine because it is a beautiful car. I will tell you that much.
Yeah, indeed. Trading paint's not deciding to work, but these guys are going to get double filed back up. Cohen's going to lead over Anthony DeBarro. Then we have Filip Raducic, who's been the silent competitor in the 43. He's been up there in the front of the field. Hasn't made too much noise ever since he got there, but I'm interested in seeing if he has anything to say to the leaders. Greg Evans going to be outside in 4th. Drew Carroll 5th. Timothy Johnson going to be starting in 6th. Thomas George in 7th. Outside of him, Rick Thompson, who's had a fantastic night so far, in 8th. Tim Silman, I haven't talked a lot about him tonight. He's having a quiet day in 9th. And Brian Yazik, who I noticed earlier wasn't able to get around to saying it, has moved up back. When we last looking at him, he was back in 20th, has now moved up into the top 10, so has made some good progress forward. But again, like you said, and I kind of agree with you, I don't think this is the last caution that we're going to see here. I think we have a chance of seeing one more come out, but where these guys are going to come take the green here with 14 laps to go.
Yeah, honestly, like, one of the big things that depends on me for the cautions is if Nick Cohen spends his tires here, that could sack everyone up. So we'll see. If they get away clean, it'll be something that happens in the back of the pack, in my opinion.
Indeed it does. Indeed it probably will. So pace car is now going to pull off, and what we hope to be the final restart, I'm sure what Cohen hopes to be the final restart. Green flag is back in the air, and Cohen gets a solid start. Although DeBarro gets a pretty decent start as well. Can he hold off DeBarro as they head off into turn 1?
Yeah, I thought Filip Raducic was going to have a problem there, and he's actually on the bottom of a 3-wide scenario there for 3rd place, but they're getting racy back there for sure.
Drew Carroll in the middle of that now is now going to cut down low, and they're going to be 3-wide, or actually it's going to come out to 2-wide here as Drew Carroll trying to go to the inside of the 43.
That was an awesome move there from Drew Carroll to dart to the inside, and he's racing the 43 car. They're side by side, and they're kind of catching Greg Evans here, and he's able to clear the 43 car of Filip Raducic off turn 4.
These guys racing for position now. Timothy Johnson now to the outside, trying to make a pass. Raducic cuts him off. Thomas George also behind, fighting for position. How about Rick McBride's come out of nowhere? He's currently in 7th. Has been up and down the field all night long. Has finally made himself found himself in the top 10 again. But the top 2 have kind of broken away from the rest of the field. Cohen leading over DeBarro. But this is going to be now. Does DeBarro have enough to get around Nick Cohen?
Yeah, I think that Anthony DeBarro's in the exact position he wants to be in. Broken away from 3rd place. There's really not a lot of pressure out back, and he's just reeling in Nick Cohen, who he knows he has a tire advantage over. So, very interesting setup here as we come to 12 to go.
Indeed it does, and here we see now DeBarro trying to chase down the guy ahead of him. And he has a little bit of time to work with, although he can't be too careful, because if a caution comes out in the wrong place, Cohen will be walking away with this win. But DeBarro's been closing in every few laps. Every single lap, so I think he might have something here for Cohen.
And if a caution comes out, you'd be insane to count out Greg Evans, who's been up front for a lot of the race. And speaking of the devil, caution comes out there as I'm saying that, and right as Anthony DeBarro darts down low to Nick Cohen's inside. So we'll see what that caution is all about.
Oh, and quite a few cars involved, Gabriel Perry being one of them. And we'll cut to the replay to take a look at what happened there. From what I saw, quite a few cars were involved in that wreck. Looking on board with Gabriel Perry. No, this actually started earlier. Oh, Raducic went sliding through the grass. And then behind them, some guys got collected in huge, absolutely huge wreck. in the middle of the field. We'll take another look at that from up top on the stands.
Yeah, that's unlucky for Philip Vedicic, and it's a similar story like of unluck for Gabriel Perry, who was running up in 4th place, spun through the grass at the wall, and now just a series of unfortunate events here for his race tonight.
Oh, and the 35, it looks like, was trying to get, Dylan Lee was trying to get out of the way, got into Perry, and also the 44 of Tyler Hensley, and that got them collected, and a huge wreck ensued. And we'll take a look again to try to see who else was a victim of that crash. So they see the 35 check up into the 13, clips the 44 around. The 47 got involved as well as the 25, I believe. And man, huge wreck from a lot of the drivers.
And that's the danger of racing so close and so fast here. You know, when you're trying to avoid a wreck, you could cause an even bigger one yourself. So unlucky for all those drivers involved in the secondary accident there.
Cut back live to the drivers pacing under yellow, and to no surprise, no one's coming down pit road. I think that that time is gone now. I think it's pretty much you got what you got. I mean, it really has to do with just the massive field we have here. If you pit, I believe the only drivers who haven't pit is the top 20. So you lose 20 positions if you pit up at the front. So I don't think any of these guys want to lose that, and it's pretty much not worth it at this point.
Yeah, I know, it's really impressive to be this late in the race and still have 29 cars on the lead lap. So, you know, even if you pit and have a bad stop or something, you could be finding yourself all the way back in 29th place, which would be absolutely heartbreaking if you had a good race going so far.
Indeed. So Nick Cohen again. This is falling into his favor here. As the cautions wind up these laps, we saw that Navarro was starting to get a run going. On the last green flag run, and might have been able to challenge the 21 once he got up to speed, but now this is really starting to play into Cohen's favor, and I think, honestly, tides are shifting in his favor.
Yeah, you know, Nick Cohen, you know, honestly, what he did, I thought it was a little bit crazy, but we know we have 8 laps to go here now, and he's in a pretty good spot right here, and on that last restart, he was actually able to get kind of away from Anthony DeBarro until he reeled him back in, so really, really exciting final few laps here in store.
Indeed so, and I can imagine now this probably is going to be the final restart. If another caution comes out, I think it might be race over. So that's the kind of situation that we're in. We'll see if we can go green all the way to the end. I'm sure Cohen would take a caution coming out immediately. I'm sure he's hungry for his first win in the FUEL Cup Series. It's been a long one overdue for that 21, and he played the cards right now. It's just a matter of will he be able to get the finish he wants.
Yeah, you know, like the one thing Nick Cohen's going to be hoping for the second this race goes green is a stack up in the back of the pack or something wild happening in turn number 1, because if we get one more caution, that will probably be the race, and that will be the first win in the FUEL HostVenom Cup Series for Nick Cohen.
Yeah, now speaking of cautions, with the amount of cautions we've had, Scott Eckrich has been able to go down here. Remember, he was 5 laps down at one point. Has been able to play the card somewhat right for in his case, and is now back 1 lap down. But I don't think he would be able to get back on the lead lap. I think if we got another caution, the race would end. But talk about never giving up in that 70. Has been trying to mitigate the damage from him leaving, having some troubles earlier on. Is now currently listed in 26, 27. So he's going to be fighting out there, and I think will definitely hurt him less in the points going forward. So solid run from the 70. But here's the battle up front. We're going to get the restart with 6 laps to go. If a caution comes out immediately, we might see a final restart, although it's kind of unlikely. So it's kind of up in the air here how much we're going to have left to go in this race. I'm sure Cohen wants the race to end immediately as it is, and everyone else around him wants to race it out.
I have a very interesting question for you.
Yep.
1 and 2, they're teammates, but this is a win. So how do you think they race each other here on these final laps, if they get to race it out?
I think it's going to be teammates be damned at this point. I mean, again, we're talking about Cohen. He's yet to get his first win in this Cup Series. Had a really solid run. Had a really solid last season, other than the fact that he didn't get a win. But I think, you know, he's up here. He's done the strategy. He's up in first place. I'm pretty sure he's going to race a 27 as if he was anyone else on this track.
Here we go. This is the money restart right here. Nick Cohen on 2 tires, Anthony DeBarro on 4. And they have left. Pace car has been in, and Nick Cohen gets away, spun his tires a little bit, but is able to recover greatly and has the car length advantage on Anthony DeBarro as they head down to the turn number 1.
Yeah, indeed. Solid start by Cohen. He's trying to defend both lanes. Greg Evans now to the inside of DeBarro. Can Evans take away second place? I don't think he will be able to. DeBarro shooting like a rocket ship on the outside. Into the wall he goes, trying to build up a run on the 21.
Yeah, Nick Cohen did cut the door off a little bit there for him. There was a lot of space, and then Cohen saw him coming and moved up a little bit, in my opinion. So Anthony DeBarro will be right there, and he'll be fired up from that, what just happened.
I'm pretty sure he will be. It's going to be an all-out brawl to the finish. 5 laps to go. If a caution comes out, it's going to be race over. So these guys got to fight for it. If they want it, they got to do it now.
And that is the caution that Nick Cohen was probably looking for, and that will probably be the end of this race here at Kansas.
Oh, indeed it will, but who did that involve? I see the 92 of Christopher Matthews, but no, he wasn't involved in that. Not sure who was involved in that wreck. Can you find anyone?
It could have been the Brian Bliss driver who disconnected after the caution came out, so maybe he had something to do with it.
Yeah, alright, we'll take a look at Brian Bliss and see if he was indeed the cause of that caution. Oh, I found out who it involved. It was a 39 of Calvin Filarski as he got into the wall. I'll try to rewind to get a better look at that. Oh yeah, and just got turned by, I believe, the 05 was involved in that. We'll take another look.
Calvin Filarski, that's the last thing you needed here today. He did not qualify for the Daytona race, and last year 12th in the standings. So bad start to the season for him, but he'll probably recover here as the season goes on.
Here's another look at it. There you see the 05 trying to get to the outside of the 39. I think they just found each other. Yep, and 05 just got to the outside, got into the 39, and off into the wall he went. So that's going to be your race-ending caution. And I'm sure Nick Cohen's going to be a happy camper. I'm really hoping I'm not jinxing it for him. This race shouldn't be going back green.
Yeah, I don't think it will be. We've already pretty much given him the win here, so I kind of hope not.
I mean, we have been proven wrong here time and time again at SimTV. And I've been known to jinx drivers quite a few times also on SimTV, so I really hope that Cohen's got it here. He should. Again, usually the way iRacing works out, under 5 to go, it's usually race over. It all really matters where you catch the pace car. So we'll see here. If the lights don't go out this time by, it should be race over.
I guess we'll see if we were wrong or not. So here we go. You know Nick Cohen's hoping not to see those lights go out. He's probably
indeed. He's waiting.
Begging for it right now.
And as the pace car comes across the line, and Nick Cohen is going to win the race here at Kansas. It's going to be his first win in the FUEL Cup Series here. And again, long time coming for him. And just, I got to say, what a strategy call on that 21 car.
Yeah, he has to be elated right now. I'm sure maybe he thought, he probably had some doubt in his mind on that first restart there as DeBarro was chasing him down. But what an incredible call by him. And he has to be elated right now.
Yeah, indeed. And DeBarro trying to give it everything he could on that last restart. Went to the wall trying to get around the outside of Nick Cohen, but wasn't able to do it. Greg Evans is going to have to settle in for third place, and he's been up front all day long. I don't think there's ever been a time he's dropped out of the top 5 or top 7. That 46 car has always been towards the front for him. And same thing with Drew Carroll as well. He's also been at the front all day long. Is just going to come home a little bit short of a better finish. Thomas George was a solid run in 5th. Timothy Johnson 6th. Rhett McBride 7th. Tim Silman's going to come home 8th. Rick Thompson with a solid top 10. And how about also solid top 10? Thomas Bresci, look at that car. That car has definitely seen some better days. Especially the right rear of it, but solid run for him. He's going to come home in 10th. Yeah, Brian Yazik, probably going to be a little bit disappointed. He was had a phenomenal run up around the top five earlier in the race. He's going to come home in 11th. But again, as the drivers come to take the white flag, Cohen's going to lead them around, and he's going to be able to, should nothing happen to him, he's going to be taking that checkered flag.
Yeah, one thing I will say about Greg Evans, did a great job recovering. There was that period of the race where he and 3 other leaders stayed out and had 10-lap older tires than everyone behind him, and he fell back to kind of 7th, 8th place. But then once he was on fresher tires, won a race off pit road, actually, and then so good recovery for him. But he'll be upset kind of not to win this race.
Yeah, definitely so. And again, too, I believe Cohen was also one of the drivers that was Cohen one of the drivers that took no tires, or did he take 4? I'm trying to remember from that.
Who was that?
Nick Cohen, was he one of the drivers that took no tires?
Oh no, yeah, he took 4. He took 4.
Oh,
He was one of those guys. But on the last pit stops, the money one, he took 2, and that seemed to be the move of the race tonight.
Yeah, and it doesn't make it. I am kind of surprised he did take those 2 tires, considering what happened to the drivers up front. But I guess he figured out he needed to do something to try to win this race, and he had the cautions come out of pretty much the most perfect opportunities. And as they come out of turn 4, Nick Cohen is going to come across the line. He's going to win the race here at Kansas Speedway. So solid job. And I forgot to turn off Steam notifications. Thank you, Steam. And Nick Cohen is going to come across the line. He's going to win here at Kansas. Solid job for the 21. His first win in the Fuel Cup Series.
Awesome day for Dizzy Motorsports as they finished 1-2 here at Kansas, and almost had to test each other. That was almost really interesting there. But awesome job by Nick Cohen. Awesome job by Anthony DeBarro. And really everyone.
Yeah, and you can see everyone giving the congratulatory bumps to Nick Cohen. It's been a long time coming for him.
Whoa!
Very aggressive congratulatory bumps for that 21.
Yeah, they took him 3 wide on that one. That was that was almost too much there for him.
And also Timothy Johnson also giving his congratulations as well. And just again, what a call on strategy to get him to the front of the field. Pretty much almost uncalled for, consider what we saw beforehand. But he's going to be the one that's going to do the burnouts here. And we'll watch him do the burnouts, and then after that, we'll cut to interviews, and we'll interview your top 3 and other notable drivers. So don't go anyway after that. But there you see the gray car. Unfortunately, don't have sponsors on that car for some reason because Trading Pains doesn't like to work when I would like it to. But I don't think Nick's going to care. He's going to line up at the start-finish line and light those tires down. As Nick Cohen finishes celebrating, we're going to cut to interviews. Don't go anywhere. We'll interview your top 3 and another notable driver, so stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, and we're back here with your race winner, Nick Cohen in the 21. Nick, what a strategy call there at the end to get you in position. Walk us through what was going through your mind in that last restart, and what made you pick that two-tire call?
Um, you know, the entire race, I wanted to just take care of the car because I know how these races go, and I knew how the track was going to change. I had a feeling that at some point I might take two tires, and normally I like to do that earlier on to see what happens, but I never really got that chance. And just riding there, about eighth, ninth, 10th all night, and I like I said, I know how these Kansas races go with normally a lot of wrecks at the end, and I thought the two tires might handle pretty good, so I had to gamble because it's just so hard to pass. So had to do something, and luckily nobody else did it and put us out front, and that's the best spot to be on any strategy call, really. But the two tires really hooked up too. It really amazed me how good it handled. The car was so tight all night, and taking the two tires like that made it loose, and that's the way I like to drive. It was kind of a handful off of turn four. But the CG Automotive Toyota Camry was fast tonight and just took care of it, kept all the fenders on it and until after the race. But it was a lot of fun battling my teammate Anthony, and had a good team effort tonight. So proud of it, just finally able to get that monkey off my back here at Fuel.
Yeah, indeed. So, and actually, I was kind of curious about that. We saw that Navarro was up there, your teammate. Were you planning on racing him clean, or were you pretty much gonna put him not put him in the wall, but rub some fenders for the win?
Well, at Dizzy Motorsports, it's the goal is to get one of us to win, kind of like Joe Gibbs on Sunday at Daytona. But when it's still every man for himself. We're still teammates. We're gonna race each other just as hard as anybody else. We're here to have fun. We're here to race, and we're here to win. Nobody on Disney Motorsports is here to settle for second. So I knew he was gonna give me a good run, and that last restart, I spun the tires. They're starting to get worn on the left side a lot more, and that restart, I knew I had to just go for it, and kind of spun the tires, and he was way too close for comfort entering in turn one, and I saw him getting a run off of two, and I'm like, I'm going to the wall, I don't care. So didn't give him much room, and he ran out of room anyway. So like I said, we're here to win as a team, but we're also here to have fun and put on a good show for you guys. So proud we got a 1-2 finish. At least one of us won tonight, but really proud on the 1-2 finish. I know Tim had a good run tonight too. So.
All right, and that was your race winner, Nick Cohen. Nick, thanks for talking to us, and again, congratulations on the first win.
Yep, just a shout out to all my teammates at Disney Motorsports and PMS, and Will for putting this league together, and of course you guys for doing this awesome broadcast.
No problem. See you next week.
See ya.
All right, and now we have your second place finisher, Anthony Navarro, in the 27.
How you doing, Anthony? Second place run today. You were really fast all day. How do you feel with the second place finish?
I'm very happy with it. I mean, I think if cautions fell or didn't fall there at the end, I don't think we would have a problem taking a checker flag. But it's great to get a 1-2 finish. And Nick drove his butt off there with two tires. It was that was everything I had, and I know it probably freed him up a little bit. His car was pretty tight to begin with, so I didn't even think of it was something to do. I would have done it if I would have knew that the car would have responded like that.
Yeah, you mentioned your teammate and the gamble he made to take two tires. What was going through your mind when you saw that?
I saw him leave pit road, and I was like, okay. I'm like, I honestly thought I wasn't gonna have any issue getting by him there in the first corner, and then that last restart there, I had a run going. He entered really shallow into one, and I had a run on the top there, and I got in the wall. Like, I just blew it.
So last week you led the most amount of laps at Daytona. Here again at Kansas, led a big chunk of laps. Looking forward to the rest of the season. How do you feel?
Good. Just, I mean, if we keep driving like this, we'll get a win here and lock ourselves in. But I'm just happy to get a good points here. We're up to 5th in points. I'm just looking at it now, and it feels good. I mean, I'm just having fun, and it's good racing with the LPM guys and everyone else out there. I mean, Greg and all of them. It's fun. So.
Awesome. Finian, anything else to add?
No, but nothing much. Pretty much took care of that. So thank you, Anthony, for talking to us, and congrats on the second place finish.
Thank you. Good job up there in the booth, guys.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll talk to our third place finisher, Greg Evans. And Greg, you're leading most of the first half of the race, and then all of a sudden, towards the end, the tables turned. Tell us what was going through your mind trying to make something happen there in the end of the race.
Just kind of ran out of time. The caution kind of messes up. We had a really good car at the first of the race, and just kind of fell off a little bit last year. It's kind of opposite. We was kind of, just subpar first of the race, and then kind of came on late. So, I'm pretty happy with third place finish. Though, wish we would have been able to go green for those last 5 laps, but that's part of racing. And there's a couple times last year that kind of fell in my favor, so it's good to see Nick get a win.
Yeah, and so you had I'm not sure where you finished at Daytona, but you have a third place finish here. How are you feeling about the rest of the season up ahead, being the defending champion, and also now that you've seen a lot of the newer guys that have made to start the season? How do you feel about how confident do you feel about going towards a second championship back to back?
I feel pretty good. I honestly didn't test or turn the game on any since Vegas last year until last week at Daytona. So I got some catching up to do, but um, getting to know these new guys and stuff, they race a little different. Just got to get used to them and figure out their tendencies and stuff. And I think we got a pretty good year.
All right, thank you, Greg. Congrats on the third place finish, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you guys, appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too. All right, and last but not least, we're going to talk to Tim Silman. Tim, you're pretty much mired in the middle of the pack for most of the race, and you were around all the action. Now, how is your race from your eyes?
Really challenging. I mean, being stuck in the middle of the back, after the contact I made once I finally broke the top 10, being that it's Kansas, there's only one line, we just gotta pretty much stick it out, and it took almost all race and taking 2 tires before I actually broke the top 10 again.
Yeah, so did you feel that you could have probably finished higher with what you got, or do you think 8th place was all the car can do?
Given the fact that I took 2 there at the end, if I was in a position to where I could have taken 4 and I was up front, then possibly, but I was pretty much locked into that once I did that.
All right, and that was Tim Silman finishing 8th. So a solid job here at Kansas, Tim, and we'll see you next week. Hope to see you again.
Yep, have a great night. Thank you.
All right, and that's going to wrap up the interviews. You see the results go across the screen there, and man, what a great race, Jared.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it started off 2 really long green flag runs. I got some good racing. I got to see some incredible car control, and then I got a little bit wreck heavy there towards the end, but awesome to see it. 1-2 finish for Disney Motorsports. Nick Cohan getting his first win in the FUEL HostVenom Cup Series, so you love to see that for him. Really excited for Bristol next week.
Yeah, indeed. And again, Bristol, it's going to be, if you thought this week was chaos, Bristol will definitely be sure to prove you wrong. But yeah, we'll see you next week for the Fuel Cup Series at Bristol. But coming up this week, we got the WDCR SCCA. I believe I'm probably saying that wrong. They're next tomorrow night. On Thursday, we got the Ferrari Challenge from Zandvoort. They're starting their season up again, so looking forward to that. And nothing this Saturday because VRL finished their championship last week. Next Saturday, so 2 Saturdays from now, we'll have Outsiders Racing and VRL on Friday for their season opener. And Sunday, we have a 3-wide development series. They're going to be at their next race for the second race of their season. So thank you for watching from SimTV. I hope you enjoy the race, and we'll see you next time.